give their children a gift, the best thing they can do is to teach them to love challenges, be intrigued by mistakes, enjoy effort, and keep on learning. That way, their children don't have to be slaves of praise. They will have a lifelong way to build and repair their own confidence. Wouldn't that be great? So let's see how we can achieve this. So first of all, how to praise to develop a growth mindset. So we saw that praise obviously is the double-edged sword. So what can we do to actually still tell our kids that not only do we love them, but actually that they are doing things that are really great. So first of all is focus on self-evaluation. I already said it, self-evaluation is this really important, this inner direction we have. The more we have it, the less we're dependent on others to tell us that we're doing great, the more stronger, the more resilient we are. So how to achieve this, first of all, is instead of the typical, oh, I'm so proud of you, which is really great, it's try first, say, for example, are you proud of yourself? You must be proud of yourself. Or ask a question like, are you happy with the result? Rather than, oh, this is amazing, you got an A. It's like, oh, are you happy with this result? Just imagine actually a kid, even with an A, who says, well, actually, no, not really. So it actually helps you understand where they are so that you can help them wherever they are, because they might be overconfident, over-demanding, or not enough, obviously. So I had the second bit is focus on effort. And this is the, very much what Carol Dweck coined is like, really, you must have worked hard, you must have put a lot of effort into this. This is so much better because it explains to children that the more effort, obviously the better outcome. So I tried this with my eldest when she was 5.5. And I'm like, oh, you put a lot of effort into this, you must be proud of yourself. I'm like, no, that was easy. Okay. Try that for 6 months. That's the, you saw the evolution. At 5, they all have a growth mindset. It seems all easy. And then finally, when she turns 6, she comes back from ballet and she says, Dad, I've been made ballerina of the week. Like, oh, wow, you must be proud of yourself. She says, yes, I am, because I practice hard. I was like, yes, finally, 6 months. So don't despair. Actually, you can start this with your kids when they're young, but they will not, actually, they're not likely to answer that they've put effort, they feel the effort until they're 5, 6. Because things come easy to them. And that's actually one of the key reasons for the evolution from the fixed mindset to growth mindset. It's obviously comparison. They start being compared at school. It's an increase between 5 and 10. There's a significant increase in self-awareness and also the awareness of others and social awareness. And that's the reason why we start comparing ourselves and think, oh, actually, I'm not as good as this person. So, for example, my 8-year-old, her biggest challenge was that she had a friend who's a big ballerina. Actually, she just went to see her Broadway show yesterday. Broadway, like a Haymarket. Anyway, so it's basically a big show, ballet and dancing and singing. And it's just incredible. And her other really good friend is an amazing gymnast. So she just felt average. Since when's average a problem? But actually it has become, because there's so much emphasis on being great, etc. So it is a big challenge. So the third one is perseverance. And I already mentioned this word yet. Is when your children say, oh, I'm not good at this. Tell them, yes, you may not be good at this yet, but if you put effort and you practice, you can get better at it. You have to choose whether you want to do that or not, but you can do it. The other one is progress. This is a really important one. Is realize that children are not very good, certainly not before the age of 11, 12, of realizing the progress they make. And it's even us sometimes. We forget to celebrate our progress. We don't realize the small progress we make. So, but while an external party can always tell us, oh wow, look at how much progress you made, how much better you become at this. So help them, whether it's piano practice, academically, anything you can use. Oh, I've noticed that you've really improved on that, and try and tell them what you noticed, because they may not be able to. So that really helps to talk about progress and be specific about it. The other thing is strategy, process. How did you do it? Again, children, before being teens and even then, they have the challenge of not realizing that there are different strategies. It's often black or white. It's like, oh, there's only one way to do things. And actually the system doesn't help them that much. It's very much around, there's one solution to this problem, there's one, and so help them question, help them realize that, oh, well, maybe you could have done this differently. And so make them curious about different strategies, different ways to do things. And finally, description. So instead of oh, this is so good, this is amazing, Is like, I noticed that you've done this. So like with progress, I noticed that you made progress in this. I noticed this in your drawing. I noticed this. And they absolutely love being noticed. It's actually enough for them. Just knowing that we notice as parents what they did is already good enough. We don't have to be over, unless it's something amazing. But in general, noticing is more than enough. So hopefully, self-evaluation, effort, perseverance, progress, strategy, and description. Then it's about celebrating mistakes and challenges. It's really important that the whole growth mindset is very much about understanding that mistakes are normal and to learn that failure is feedback. Failure, or we also, children love the acronym FAIL, which is first attempt in learning. So lead by example, and by that I'll give you, I'm the typical parent who'll go, oh, I can't believe I made this mistake, I'm so dumb. Unfortunately, it happens to a lot of us. And it's really important to realize that we're the first example. So they will start saying that they're dumb if they made a mistake or they're not. And so it's all about how we take it and the example we give. So now I still sometimes say this, but I immediately catch myself and say, oh no, actually I'm not dumb. It's normal. I made a mistake and I'm going to learn from it. And so catching yourselves doing that is really useful. And we can also share our mistakes. This is a great way to lead by example. For example, at dinner time, we sometimes do mistake sharing. So, oh, today I made this mistake and I learned this from it. The kids are like, what? They don't even imagine that you make mistakes. So it's really useful for them to hear that you failed and you learned from it, and it's okay. Because the biggest problem with mistakes is actually what it makes us feel as human beings. We don't feel good enough. We don't, and obviously, particularly when we're younger, we feel that actually we might not be lovable, we're not good enough if we're not, great, particularly if we've been told we're amazing, which is why I mentioned this. It's really important to try and not use this too much, although of course we'll do it, because children need to feel that it's okay to make lots of mistakes. Help them discover their individuality. And this is a big one, obviously, because my daughter felt just average. And reality is she's improved incredibly since, because we really focused on that and the fact that she is actually pretty good at several things. And for example, we play a lot of speed games or board games, and she beats most of us. I mean, she actually beats us regularly as a family, and that's pretty good for increasing self-esteem. There's a lot of things. I won't just talk about my daughter, but it's really important to help them realize that they can be good at several things. And sometimes it's just values. You're a good sharer, you're a really kind person. That is already more than enough, because my 8-year-old felt like she was a bad person because she was being mean to her sisters. So actually it was not easy to make her realize that because often children can mix their behavior with their persona. And so when we tell them that they said they did a bad thing, and I used to use things like, oh, it's unacceptable, it's unimaginable that you did that. Not very helpful. Because that really made her feel that she was just a bad person. It's unimaginable that someone ever could do that. Because resilience and confidence come from overcoming challenges. There are a lot of things we can praise as much as we want. The reality is, overcoming challenges is what really builds this resilience and confidence. Give more control and responsibility. This is an important one. Just imagine going to a friend's house and they tell you, oh, yeah, please, here's a glass of water, sit on the couch, and then, oh, dinner's ready. Please, have your broccoli and your fish, and you have to finish your dinner because children are starving in Africa. And, you need to go to sleep now. I need to go to sleep because I have an important meeting tomorrow. So obviously this is not what happens to us when we go to, but this is what happens to our children most of the time. When we go to friend's house, we get, oh, do you want a glass of wine or water or whatever? Do you want to sit here on the couch? Do you want your broccoli or carrots? We get choices. And this makes us feel really good. So the issue, our challenge with our kids is actually they get very limited control over their lives. So giving them an impression of control and responsibility is really important. So to do that, we recommend using limited choices, not unlimited choices. No, what do you want to eat tonight? But would you rather do this or that? Would you rather leave now or in 5 minutes? Would you like, so typically as parents will go, we need to leave in 5 minutes. And we think, okay, we told them, so obviously in 5 minutes they're going to be ready. Guess what? Rarely does it happen. So actually giving them the choice of when to leave, or do you want to leave in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, even better for children who obviously have sense of time, because this way they really sense they had a choice. It's not now, it's like in 5 or 10. And you'd be surprised because sometimes they'll be, 5 minutes good. And they're much more likely to do it just because they made the choice. Choices is really the easiest tool in your book. That's what it's funny because when I talk to parents of teens, I'm like, well, give them more choices. Like, but why would I? I mean, they're supposed to brush their teeth. What, am I going to tell them, do you want to brush your teeth now or in 5 minutes? It's like, no, maybe not, but it's still better than, go brush your teeth. You still didn't brush your teeth. So it's still more respectful to use choices or questions, which is the next. The other one is ask questions. We rarely do enough of this. How many times do we actually say the same things to our children? Probably at least 90% of the time. So instead, if you feel you're going to repeat yourself once more, try, what did I just say? And you'd be surprised because they'll probably know exactly and they'll repeat it. And like, okay, so what did I just say is much more respectful. Finally, what are you going to do about this? This is really responsibility. So instead of, they spill something on the floor, instead of, go get the mop, do this, do that, it's like, what are you going to do about this? And at the beginning, when you ask this question, often you'll get, I don't know. So obviously, you teach them, and next time, you make sure they know, and they'll feel a lot more responsible, and they'll do things. Finally, I want to talk about help them manage their feelings. And this is, I'm convinced after all the research and all the books that are now coming out on the subject that the world would be a much better place if we realize that, instead of just trying to reassure our children. So let's take an example of us. Have you ever come back at home and you had a really horrible day, you got really angry at work, and you're telling your spouse about it, and they tell you, it doesn't sound that bad. How do you feel? Do you feel good? No, obviously not. Same for kids. Or just imagine telling your friends about, something that you found quite difficult, and you're sharing, and you're expecting a bit of empathy, but what you get is like, oh my God, that's terrible. Oh really? Oh my God, it must be horrible. And you're just like, no, actually, it wasn't that bad. You feel, they're really exaggerating. So it's all about meeting adults or children where they are. This is what's really important. And so, first of all, validating children's feelings allows them to trust themselves and better deal with their emotions. And I'm going to give you an example of how to do that, by the way. So, for a child to gain confidence, they need to believe that all their feelings are okay. So one of the reasons for lack of confidence is often that as children grow up, that they hear, oh, come on, it's not that bad, or come on, pick yourself up, you have to be stronger, particularly with boys, we're constantly telling them, come on, don't be so sensitive, stop crying. Reality is, that makes them feel that they're not okay. So because, as I was explaining, they feel that their behavior is the same as their persona, and therefore, if we're telling them that their feelings or their behavior is not okay, they will just feel that they're not okay. And so it's considerable, and this is, all the research is pointing to the same thing now. I'll teach you a technique in a second. So when you knowledge a feeling, you're not reinforcing behavior. This is the problem of a more authoritarian parent like me. I used to think that if I'm allowing a tantrum or I'm like reinforcing a behavior, so I need to cut it out. Well, actually not true. Actually, first of all, you connect and then you change the behaviors. I'm going to explain in a second. Well, actually, I've got a good example to share with you on this. So my 7-year-old has become pretty good at board games because we play quite a few of that. And we were playing a speed game. And she was actually beating her 12-year-old sister. But I was still winning. And so it happened 3 times. 3rd time, she starts like crying. And unfortunately, I didn't react the best way because we have a huge emphasis at home on the importance of playing and not winning. And so I was like, if you're not feeling good about this, just stop playing. So guess what? Of course, she continued crying, and she was like, and we all stopped playing. The next day, thankfully, she did want to play again. Same situation. After 3 times of losing, she starts crying. This time I had visualized myself, which actually visualization is a really useful tool that I highly recommend, is if you feel you've done something that wasn't great, see yourself doing it, actually feel the pain of your daughter and the pain that actually it causes you of like feeling, oh my God, this really didn't deal very well with the situation. And then you reprogram it by actually visualizing yourself doing something differently. And the way you think it would be much better to do it. So on this occasion, I told her, it really frustrates you to lose against your dad. And maybe even you seem to be pretty sad. Suddenly I had like a bit more attention. She was like, yeah. And so then I tell her, but do you know that some parents actually let their children win? Suddenly it stops crying. She says, oh, yeah. I go, well, would you like me to let you win? What do you think she answered? No. She said, no, that wouldn't be fair. And I wouldn't learn anything. I said, okay, well, let's continue playing. So obviously, is that a better outcome? Obviously. And so it was just by the ability to connect with her and acknowledging her feeling, it allowed us to go completely in a different direction. So finally, how to foster a growth mindset and confidence. In summary, make it about your child, not about you. This is so important that we want so much for our children, for good reasons, but they feel it. And they feel sometimes that we want too much for them. And they stop wanting it for themselves and doing it for us. And that's not very confidence building. So hopefully self-evaluation and focusing on self-evaluation is so important. And this intrinsic motivation to want to do things. Second thing is focus on effort, progress, perseverance and strategy, and less on outcome. So it's not just about the A's, it's about the process and about feeling good about what they did. Then focus on their skills and things they have control over. The more we focus on making them feel they have control over things, the better, obviously, the outcome. Lead by example. Celebrate mistakes and challenges. Help them discover their individuality. Share more control and responsibility by giving choices and asking questions. And finally, use empathy to help them better manage their feelings and listening actively.